Have you ever caught yourself thinking, why does my mind always jump to the worst case scenario? Maybe it happens quietly, just under the surface. A small mistake turns into a spiral of self-doubt. A missed phone call becomes a story about being forgotten. If that sounds familiar, you're not alone. In our senior years, we often find ourselves replaying old thought patterns that don't serve us anymore. Some of them have been with us for decades. They might have come from childhood, past relationships, or years of feeling like we had to hold everything together. And while those patterns might have helped us survive difficult times, they don't always help us thrive now. That's the heart of what we're talking about today: how to gently but powerfully rewire negative thinking later in life. Not by pretending everything is perfect, not by forcing ourselves to think positive, but by understanding how our thoughts are shaped and how we can reshape them, slowly, kindly, and with real intention. Just like we can train our bodies to be stronger, more flexible, or more balanced, we can also train our minds to lean toward peace, not panic, toward calm, not chaos. One of the first steps in shifting negative thinking is noticing the script. That voice in our heads that whispers, "You're not good enough," or "It's too late now." The tricky part is that these thoughts often sound like facts. But when we start to slow down and really listen, we realize they're not facts at all, they're habits. And like any habit, they can be changed. Think of it like walking the same dirt path in a garden every day. Over time, it becomes the clearest, most worn trail. Our thoughts are the same. The more we travel a certain line of thinking, the easier it becomes to go that way without even realizing it. But the beautiful thing is, we can create new paths. And those new paths can lead to more peaceful places. One way to begin that shift is to practice gentle awareness. That means noticing our thoughts without judging them. Imagine sitting on a porch and watching cars go by. Each car is a thought. Some zoom past. Others are loud and grab your attention. But you don't have to chase everyone. You can just watch them. In the same way, when a negative thought pops up, something like, "I'm not useful anymore," you can take a step back and say, "There's that thought again." You don't have to argue with it or push it away. Just seeing it, naming it, and letting it pass is powerful. Over time, this simple act of noticing without reacting creates space. And in that space, something else can grow. A kinder thought, a more balanced idea. Something like, "I may not do what I used to, but I still bring value in ways that matter." That's not false positivity. It's grounded truth that often gets buried under years of self-criticism. Another gentle approach is to become curious about where those negative thoughts come from. Sometimes, they're echoes of voices from past. Maybe someone once told you that you weren't capable, and that voice has followed you like a shadow. Other times, they're rooted in fear, fear being left out, of losing independence, of becoming invisible. When we name those fears honestly, we take away some of their power. And when we do that, we begin to reclaim control. Rewiring the mind isn't about snapping our fingers and becoming optimistic overnight. It's more like tending a garden. We notice the weeds, we gently pull them out, and we make room for something new to grow. That something new might start small, just a single moment of self-kindness during a difficult day. But over time, those moments string together and become a way of life. When you start to treat your mind with care instead of criticism, something shifts. You begin to feel a little lighter, a little more present, a little less tangled up in stories that were never really yours to carry. And that's a quiet kind of freedom worth reaching for. Let's keep going. Once we begin creating space between ourselves and our thoughts, it opens up the opportunity to plant something new, deliberately, with care. One of the most powerful tools we have in this stage of life is the ability to reflect. Unlike earlier years when everything felt like it was rushing by, the pace in our senior years often allows more room for thoughtful observation. And with that comes the chance to gently steer our thoughts in a direction that serves our well-being, rather than undermining it. Now, reflection isn't about dwelling or ruminating. It's about asking questions that shift our focus in meaningful ways. Questions like, what do I want to feel today? Or what would I say to a friend who had this thought? These kinds of questions help interrupt the automatic nature of negative thinking and create an opening for compassion to enter. And when compassion enters the picture, the entire tone of your inner world begins to soften. Sometimes the shift comes from the smallest adjustments in language. Instead of thinking, I always mess things up. What happens when that turns into? That didn't go as planned, but I learned something. It might feel unnatural at first, like speaking a new language, but language carries emotion. When you choose gentler words, your nervous system responds with less tension and more calm. You're not just saying different things, you're building a different relationship with yourself. Another way we start to rewire our thinking is through what we allow into our daily environment. This isn't just about avoiding negativity from the outside world, although that plays a part. It's also about surrounding ourselves with the kinds of messages, people, and activities that encourage hope and balance. Whether it's listening to music that lifts your spirit, spending time with someone who makes you feel seen, or even reading a book that helps you reimagine what's possible, each of these experiences creates ripples inside the mind. Those ripples matter. They become patterns, and patterns, over time, become beliefs. There's also something incredibly healing about doing something unfamiliar. New experiences, no matter how small, help break the cycle of old thought patterns. Trying a new hobby, joining a discussion group, even walking a different route, these simple acts tell the brain, we're not stuck. We're still growing. That message seeps in deeper than we realize. And in our senior years, that sense of growing, of continuing to explore the unknown, becomes a powerful antidote to fear-based thinking. It's also worth recognizing that the mind, like the body, responds to how we treat it. If we constantly criticize it for being anxious, forgetful, or too negative, we're reinforcing the very loop we want to escape. But when we treat our thoughts like something we can nurture, just as we would a garden or a beloved pet, then even the difficult moments start to feel less threatening. We create a tone of inner safety, which is the foundation for any lasting change. Sometimes the hardest part is patience. We might wonder why old thought patterns aren't shifting as quickly as we'd like. But growth isn't always loud or obvious. Often, it's happening quietly beneath the surface, in the moments when we choose to pause before reacting, or when we offer ourselves understanding instead of shame. Those moments build something strong and steady. And even if we can't see the full transformation yet, it's unfolding with every act of kindness we show ourselves. Let's keep exploring what's possible. Rewiring the way we think in our later years also invites us to revisit how we respond to setbacks. Not with judgment, but with curiosity. When something doesn't go as we hoped, there's often an immediate urge to assume the worst about ourselves, about others, or about what it means. But if we pause and ask, is there another way to look at this? We loosen the grip of old conclusions. That pause becomes a doorway to greater peace. Instead of spiraling into disappointment, we might discover an overlooked opportunity or even a deeper sense of strength. Another gentle shift happens when we become more aware of how we speak to ourselves during quiet, unguarded moments. Those inner conversations matter. The tone we use with ourselves in the quiet of the morning or the stillness of the night often reveals whether we've made room for kindness to take root. If that inner voice still leans toward being critical or harsh, it's okay to notice that without blame. What matters more is choosing a different voice, one that sounds like the person you trust the most. The friend who always sees the best in you, even on the hardest days. Sometimes, simply naming what we're feeling can disarm the intensity of our thoughts. Saying out loud, "This feels heavy today," or "I'm having a tough moment," creates a sense of emotional clarity. It's not about solving anything right away. It's about acknowledging what's real without letting it define the whole day. From that space of honesty, our thoughts begin to soften, and a sense of possibility begins to return. It's also helpful to recognize that some thoughts are just echoes. They don't belong to who we are now. They're leftovers from earlier chapters, shaped by things we've long since outgrown. Letting go of them doesn't mean forgetting the past. It means choosing not to let the past write the story of the present. There's quiet power in recognizing that we have the right to rewrite the script at any moment, that we can be both shaped by our history and still free to move beyond it. Creating a healthier relationship with our thoughts doesn't happen in grand gestures. It unfolds in the ordinary moments, in the way we greet ourselves in the mirror, in how we sit with our emotions instead of rushing past them, and in the gentle way we end a day, no matter how it went. It's in those moments that the deeper rewiring takes place. Slowly, naturally, and without pressure. Living with a calmer mind in our senior years is not just about feeling better, it's about opening up space for joy. When the weight of constant worry or criticism starts to lift, what takes its place is lightness. It might show up in the form of laughter that comes more easily, gratitude that springs up without effort, or a new willingness to simply be present without needing to fix or control everything. That's where a deeper kind of living begins. If you've ever doubted whether change was still possible, let this be your reminder. Your mind is always ready to meet you where you are. It's never too late to clear a new path, to speak to yourself more gently, or to build a life from thoughts that lift you instead of hold you down. Every step you take toward that shift, no matter how small, is an act of courage and love. If this message resonated with you, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Your story might be exactly what someone else needs to read today. And if you found this helpful, feel free to give the video a thumbs up and subscribe for more conversations that honor where you are in life. Here's to building a more peaceful mind and to living these years with softness, strength, and self-compassion.